Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jim and Sam Town Square. We have an incredibly special episode for you guys today. I'm Scott King. Jim and Sam fans know me from the Forbes articles I've written about the guys, and I'm joined, as always, by multi-Emmy award-winning television producer Chris Cangilla. Chris, we got our guy. We got the namesake of the show, basically, in Troy Quan. He was incredible.
He brought the town square to us, and thankfully he was able to come in and join us in the town square. What a great time we had talking with Troy. You know, we got his origin story, both at Sirius as well as how he got to O&A. We learned a lot about the past, dynamic of working on O&A and then how it is working on Jim and Sam now. And a lot of stuff that's close to my heart. We talked music and his start in music and the really just incredible rise to success that Black Caviar has had. So it was such a good time.
It was great. It was great. And we got a lot of, kind of inside stuff for the hardcore fans. We got some NDT talk, Neil deGrasse Tyson, which was amazing. And we really just learned more about him. I thought he was excellent.
Absolutely. So in the town square, here's Troy Quan.
Joining us now in the town square, our first guest ever on the podcast, the one, the only Troy Quan, senior producer for Jim and Sam and music producer for Black Caviar. Thanks so much for joining us, Troy. We appreciate it, man.
Yes, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you asking me to join the podcast.
We had to have you as the first guest because I don't know if you computed this, but there would be no town square without you challenging Neil deGrasse Tyson's expertise. We would not have this name on the show.
Well, the second I saw the podcast, I laughed. I mean, I got the reference obviously right away, and I was like, I love the name of it. It's great. So
yeah, when Scott was telling about what should we call the podcast, he goes, I think I have an idea about the town square. I'm like, don't even say anything else. It's right on it.
Perfect. Sure. You couldn't think of a better name. I love it.
Hey, Troy, I wanted to ask you, what's your origin story, right? How did you get to be at Sirius? How did you get to be on O&A? What's your path there, man?
Well, I was living in Pennsylvania. I grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I was just playing in bands and kind of not really sure what to do as a piercing artist for almost 10 years in a tattoo shop in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, which is a little college town in Pennsylvania. And I just kind of got bored. I got really bored, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with my life. And, I was like probably, mid-20s, 25, 26. And this is like right when satellite radio sort of started happening, and it was pretty cool. It was like, wow, uncensored music and no commercials. And then all of a sudden Howard went over to Sirius. And I was a diehard Howard Stern fan since probably 1990, 91, somewhere in there. And the ultimate goal, it was like, well, I want to go work for this company and work for Howard Stern, which was, so that was kind of where I was at. And then, so there's real no way to get in. I mean, you have to sort of like either have radio experience. This is about 2006. And I worked here and there at little radio stations in Pennsylvania, but it really wasn't anything, they like major market experience. And so I basically went to audio school in New York City and just got an internship. And then I just applied for an internship at Sirius. And then they basically hired me right out of my internship, which was cool.
Is that primarily doing like audio production stuff, or is that actually working in radio?
It was like more audio production stuff. Like they would do like little jingles, like for the music channels. And one of the head bosses ran the coffee shop, and so a coffee house, excuse me. So I started doing they didn't do any jingles on the coffee house, so I designed some jingles for them, and they were like, "Oh, this is really cool! Like we never thought of this idea." And then I just got in with like some of the production guys, and yeah, I was fortunate to get hired right out of school there. So that's how it started. And then so I was on the music side, and then the merger with XM and Sirius happened, and O&A were coming over to the Sirius building. Sorry, I'm in New York City and my window's open. That's why you hear a siren here. So
not a
problem. I apologize for that. So I had gotten, so they were coming over, and it was kind of like, hey, they're coming in here. Do you want to work with these guys and help them sort of get situated in the system that they were using at Sirius? And I said, sure. So just kind of went from there. So
you're a little bit of a utility guy with music, and then you got pulled to O&A. That's pretty much how it worked out.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. And I sort of saw the writing on the wall with music, the music channels. Like, it was very kind of limited what you could do. And, they sort of had their formula, where with comedy, you could you could make ridiculous songs, and that was kind of, like hooking up with Sam Roberts, when he was a producer for O&A. Like, we would just sit there and do funny audio bits and just make each other laugh, and we'd chop up, what people were saying, and I'd flip it into a song, or we'd flip it into a weird bit. And it became fun. Like, and it was a fun that I really hadn't experienced at Sirius. So, I just kind of leaned into it. And then when their imaging producer left O&A, I just kind of slid right in. And then I did that with them for like the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years that it was O&A. Yeah. And then at each show, like when it was Opie and Jim, and then I went and did Sam's night show. He was doing a late night show for almost a year. And then Jim and Sam started, and then I went did that with them.
So who was at O&A when you first started there?
Steve Carlisi was still there. Obviously E-Rock.
Hey,
Danny Ross. Let's see here. Obviously Sam, Club Soda Kenny. That was kind of the main crew.
Troy, in every success story we've heard and things that I've experienced, it's the relationship, right? I mean, you're talking about you and Sam kind of building this thing just to make each other laugh and stuff, and it's kind of carried itself over to what you're doing now. Even Sam's elevated role, it's the same. He's the same guy, and it's the same relationship you guys have always had. It seems like. Yeah,
no, it really was, and Sam was really the guy that kind of saved me from that, because it was a pretty dark work environment. Like, if you've listened to O&A, it was real. I mean, there was real anger between them all. They hated management. Management hated them, and they all took it out on the staff. Yeah. So it was a very strange, it's like, it was just toxic. But then you'd have in like Bill Burr, and he's one of the greats, or Patrice O'Neill. You're like, that's him. There's Patrice O'Neill right there, like. So it was this weird thing. And then one of my favorite people of all time that helped me get through that part too is Club Soda Kenny. He was just such an awesome guy to hang with. He was so funny. Like, just there was a show going on with Sam, Club Soda Kenny, and me while the main show was going on. It was just, and those two are like, two of my favorite people of all time. So.
Sure. And, I got to ask you this, and I might be taking this away from Scott, but it's such an important question to us. Where does the Quan come from your name? How did you get that name?
It came from one of my favorite hip hop groups of all time is Wu-Tang Clan, and there's Raekwon the Chef, and so one of my friends from back home, like, I was obsessed with Wu-Tang. I was just constantly listening, constantly rapping, and just obsessed with what they were doing. And one of my friends just started calling me Troy Quan, as like Troy Quan the Chef. And then when social media started, I don't know why, I just didn't want to use my real name. So I just put Troy Quan as just kind of like, because I didn't really know anybody with that name. I'd never heard that before. And then
I thought you were Asian when I first, when you first appeared on. I'm like, he's got it. Yeah, he's the Asian.
Yeah, people think either Asian or I'm a black guy, and then they seem like, oh, it's just some white guy, which it seems like people are disappointed when they find out. But yeah, so it was just basically, and then they started calling me Troy Quan on the air. So that they thought that was my real name, like O&A. So because they would only see my Twitter or whatever. So that's really how it started. Then I just kind of leaned into it. I was like, that's kind of a cool name. So it's different,
With those early days, was there competition amongst the interns and producers to kind of like contribute and get attention from Opie, Anthony, and Jim? And did that feel like dark too, like what was going on with the hosts.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was teams. There's Team Opie and there was Team Anthony, and it was like you wanted to, the producer wanted to make their guy happy, and snitch on the other guys when they saw something or something, so it was like that's the way that at least when I got into it, that's the way it was then. So there was this kind of like almost rivalry between the two hosts, and the two hosts kind of had their teams, and it was little strange, but whatever.
As tough as that environment was at times, I complimented Travis with this when I interviewed him for one of the Forbes stories, but you and he are so good at picking your spots when you contribute on air. Like anytime you guys talk, it's funny, interesting, it moves everything forward, it advances everything. Did you learn that in that environment? Like, don't come in here or don't get on air unless you have something. Was that how
trying to be a star, right?
Yeah, well, you go like in O&A, you'd want your airtime, you want to get on the air. So sometimes if you blurt something out, like the show literally they all look at you and go, what did you just say? What was that? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you just said. And you have a couple of those experiences. You're like, well, I didn't really kind of organize my thoughts and I didn't have them together. I really shouldn't have said anything.
Like
so
maybe
that happened,
like maybe doing drinking some Navage water. That was probably something you would not want to.
Yes, that was something that was like, oh yeah, I would do that. Just, talking smack, but like, I was like, oh, I'm getting called out on this. Okay.
Here we go.
Oh boy. And when that happens, I mean, at the time, the lockdowns happened, but I probably would have had to drink it. I was mentally prepared that this was something.
You're a man of your
because
word.
If you have to put your money where your mouth is. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to, if you say you're going to do it, you have to do it, or they're just going to just endlessly just rip on you for it forever. So it's just better to just handle it and just be over. So
for sure.
With the new studio setup you guys have now, are you out of the line of fire from Jim's diet, or does it still affect your work?
I feel like it's like worse. I don't know what it is. It's like weird. Like it goes from Jim around the studio. I'm like literally right behind Sam. So I don't know why. Sometimes it gets to him, but I don't know. I feel like I get the brunt of it. I also feel like sometimes like those guys smell it and then they try to make me look like the jerk. Like,
right.
Like, well, we don't smell. We don't know what you're talking about. But I think they smell it. It's bad sometimes.
Have to with Jim,
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk lately about Edna Faust. We love her. Mm-hmm. And Smokin. Am I saying that right?
Schamokin.
Smokin, which is kind of close to where you grew up a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I really want you guys to take this trip. I want you to do a field trip there. Do you guys think that's going to happen?
I'd love to. It's probably about 3 hours away from the city. But it is a haul. And Schamokin, like, when you start getting out into those, so like in Pennsylvania, like you go over the border through New Jersey into like Easton, Pennsylvania, Bethlehem, Allentown, Reading. Like I grew up in that area. Then you keep going. And, like there are these coal mining towns that were booming at one time, when they were mining coal, but they've just turned into these kind of wastelands. There's like Frackville, like my mother's from this town called Frackville. It's just
lovely name.
It's if you Google it, like it's just there's nothing. It's almost sad.
Yeah.
And Schamokin is kind of one of those areas where it's just like you were in the middle of nowhere. So it's like you go there and it's like if I knew I was going to meet Edna, if I knew that was going to happen, I would make the drive. But to just go look at the Dunkin' Donuts, I don't know. But maybe we'll do it one day.
Maybe the amusement park around there too would be cool.
That would be amazing. And Jim just went there. You guys, it should be doable.
Yeah, he drove by.
Yeah, he drove by. Yeah, he was going to Cleveland.
He went through.
Maybe his pretzels are still there,
on the street. Yeah.
I was going to say, it does seem like whenever Edna comes up, it does seem like you might be the biggest Edna fan. Do you think that's true?
Yes, for multiple reasons. One, because of Pennsylvania, just because I understand, like when I see Edna, I just get it. I understand her. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're cut from the same cloth being from Pennsylvania. I was friends with a Faust. One of my friends from where I grew up was a Faust.
Awesome.
So I'm sure there's some relation to Edna. So that kind of strikes my heart a little bit. And it's just fun to like shout out these little Pennsylvania towns that nobody cares about, and it's like I have some of my Pennsylvania friends like, I can't believe you're talking about Schamokin. I can't believe you're talking about Reading, or like I always try to like figure out ways to like.
Isn't that fun when the guys that aren't in the business that you grew up with and stuff, and they listen to the show, or they know that something that you're doing, kind of reach out to you, and it's really a big deal to you. It's like, to them, and you're just like, I'm just talking with my friends on the radio. It's like, it's really cool, I think.
Yeah, just trying to fill time and just,
and your friends reach out there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You seem to, when this came up before, you seem to have thought that Sam could have handled the CVS parking lot scammer differently. How would you have handled that situation?
Well, before you answer that, can we do Troy 10 years ago and Troy currently?
I love it.
Would it be different in how you would handle it from 10 years ago?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I've mellowed out a lot. Troy 10 years ago probably I would have probably gotten into a screaming altercation with this guy, And I probably would have like I said, I would have probably I'd probably wait for him and call him out. Like I wouldn't want any sort of like real altercation though. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to mess this guy's day up, but I would want my money back. That's for sure. I wouldn't let it slide like Sam did. That's shame on him for doing that. But when you're in the moment, you're just kind of like, do I feel like, is this what I feel like dealing with today? But see, like, I'm the kind of guy that's like, yeah, like this is what we're going to do today. Like, this is going to be my, he's got kids to deal with. I don't have kids, so I got to entertain myself some other way.
And along those lines with Sam, he has the crappy eating habits, right? Yeah. And do they bother you as much as we think they bother you? I mean, I know he has chicken fingers and maybe doing some cast iron chicken, but you've eaten with the man. You go out a lot. Does it just make you sick?
I think I'm just used to it. It's weird. He's a weird eater, like, and he'll like a couple of weeks ago, like I decided to bring in some Chick-fil-A biscuits for breakfast for the guys, So
the guys,
Chick-fil-A biscuit, and he just takes a bite and then he sets it down and lets it go for like 30 minutes. He'll pick it up and he'll take another bite and then he'll set it down for another hour. And you're like, why do you eat like that? That's so strange. That alone with just like, he has just like the palate of like a 5-year-old, you know what I mean? So, but it is what it is. And, like if you were to come visit me in Florida, you just know, like, we got to go to Hooters. That's where we go, like,
or get some chicken, right?
Wangs,
grocery store. Let me ask you this. I'm sorry. No, it's hard in these Zoom situations. We talk over each other, but
happens.
I've been a fat piggy boy like Jim has, and I try to lose weight. How do you stay in shape when you have your lovely fiance as an incredible chef and a baker and making these wonderful treats? Do you just have to take a bite and not finish stuff? Or do you just have to how do you do it?
It's hard, man. It's hard. And I got really fat during the pandemic. I probably put on 45 pounds.
Yeah.
During lockdowns, and I said to myself this year, New Year's resolution, I am dropping this weight. I mean, what I have to do is I have like a counter. I have the Aura ring, so I can count my steps. So I got to just make sure I get like 20,000 steps in a day. I put in sometimes 2 workouts. I do a boxing workout. I do a yoga workout. It's just, I do like intermittent fasting, just like as far as like I try to stop eating at like, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then I don't eat till 7 o'clock the next morning.
What's your favorite treat that she makes?
My fiance?
Yeah. Favorite dessert?
Everything.
Yeah.
She does savory food too. That's just incredible. I mean, she's the best food I've ever eaten in my life. So
good. I know it'd be hard for me.
It's really hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she makes fagua, right? I think I said it right. Fagua.
Yeah, yes, she does. Well, she gets it. She doesn't make it. But
right. Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes she'll do an event and then she'll have some, and then we give some to the cat. And so
Mr. Toots.
He's around somewhere. I don't know where.
Mr. Toots.
Yeah.
Back to Sam's eating real quick. So you guys turned me on to Raising Cane's. There's actually one like not far from me, so I get it once a month at least. Love Raising Cane's. But my what I find weird about Sam's eating is that he's a connoisseur of every fast food place.
Yeah.
But he only gets nuggies or chicken finger. Like most of these places are known for burgers.
I know.
And he's never had one, right?
I think he had a burger in his
YouTube show.
His YouTube show. Here's Toots saying hi.
There he is.
That's the thing for me.
There he is.
What a great face.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't like the burger, and you're like, why? like I don't get it. I don't understand it.
We're not making you responsible for it. We just are curious ourselves.
We're theorizing. Yeah,
absolutely.
He might have witnessed something terrible while having a McDonald's burger or so. Yeah. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know I don't know why he doesn't want to expand his palate. I think some people have like a problem, like where they taste things differently than other people.
True.
It's a texture thing or something like that, right?
Yeah. Like he doesn't like spaghetti. I mean, that just blows my mind. I mean, what do you mean you don't like spaghetti? You like, like, how is that even possible? But
so I mean, let me pivot.
Like sushi, like, if people like, I don't like sushi, it's raw fish. Like I love sushi, but yeah, I can see why people would say that. But yeah, like a burger or something, man.
Yeah, there's not much I won't eat. Let me pivot a little bit because I'm a musician. I know you are. We don't hear enough about how that came about too. So, you're an incredible DJ and you play a ton of instruments. I want to know, what instruments are your instruments? Which ones? I know you program a lot of stuff, but what did you grow up playing? Did you get training? Do you play by ear?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a professional musician. I basically started with drums. I really like the drums a lot. I haven't had a drum set in a while just because there's just no room here, living in the city. And so I drums, bass. I like bass guitar a lot. And I'm working on a new project, Prince Street Bodega, where I'm playing bass in that. So those are really like the two main instruments. Some other stuff I can mess around a little bit, but I'm not that proficient. I'm not a proficient musician. I'm more so just like, messing around, and then when something sounds good, I just kind of roll with it, So
sure. Can you tell me a little bit too how Black Caviar came about and the origins of that with Jared and all?
Sure. Yeah. Well, so basically, my partner Jared is from Reading, Pennsylvania. And when we were growing up, he played in different hardcore and metal bands. I played in different hardcore metal bands. And then we were just stayed friends. We were always really good friends. Then he moved to the city here and he got a job at Republic Records. And I was working at SiriusXM. And we were like, oh, let's start a band. So kind of weren't sure what to do. And this is kind of when Spotify started happening. So it was like, basically like the way I grew up is like, you would make a demo tape and you'd go to a show and you'd hand out your demo to people and you'd hope that they'd come see you play, or you hope they'd buy your record. But then when Spotify came around, it was like, oh, you could just upload your music to Spotify and then you can get paid royalties and Apple Music and stuff. So we're like, let's just make fun music and just put it up there with no expectations. And then it actually started working, which was a little crazy, where people were actually started enjoying it and listening to it. And then when we were signed to Republic, they were looking for music for the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie. So just for fun, we took a stab at it, and it worked. It was just like, I don't know how that happens. It's one of those like miracles.
I can tell you how it happened. It's an incredible track. And I got to tell you, this is the weirdest thing because What's Up Danger came out. My son loved it. We went and saw, my son was, what was that, about maybe 7 years ago? I'm trying to figure out.
Little less. 19.
Okay. So he was in
18, excuse me, I think
late high school years, and we went and saw the movie and loved the track. And I found out that you guys did it. So this is a hard part for me. I'm telling my son, Cal, my friend, well, he's not my friend. He's a guy that I listen to that's on this radio show, and he's a producer. I mean, I'm trying to explain our relationship that we don't have. But I was like, I kind of know this guy, but it was such a great track, and just congratulations. And then, like we all do, I dive back into your repertoire and go through all the other tracks on there. It's like, it's good, but it's such a departure from you being heavy metal, band guys. Is it electronic dance music? What would you call it?
Yeah, well, that song in particular is more like, I would say like hip hop, almost like theatrical. It has like a theatrical feeling to it.
But that's a departure from what you and Jared were doing back in the day, right?
Yeah, well, it's hard to play. There's really no money to be made in. I mean, unless you're like a touring band. Even those guys, I mean, some of these touring metal bands, I mean, they're not making that much money. And it's just so much easier to like hang out with your buddy in your apartment, just make funny make beats. Like that's what we were basically doing, and And then that song in particular was it was so strange because it was like they were so vague with what it was. The Spider-Man movie, and oh yeah, Post Malone's gonna have a song in it and whatever. And here team up with this guy and work on this. And we worked on What's Up Danger. We came up with an idea for it. And then months go by and we don't hear anything. We're like, oh, I guess they picked somebody else. And then they said basically like, oh, we're going to use your song. We need another part. And then they show us this like pencil sketch of like, the scene that it's in. And it was so bad. It was a pencil sketch. Like we thought it was the movie. And we're like, this movie is terrible. This is so bad.
It's like one of the biggest movies.
I don't want my song in that movie.
Yeah, we're just like, whatever, here it is. And we finished the song and then we don't hear anything again for months. And then it was literally like, hey, they're using the song. It's going to be in the main part, the biggest part of the movie. And it's going to be in a McDonald's commercial. It's going to be in an eBay commercial. It was literally like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening. And that song was like a little bit of a blessing and a curse to us just because we were doing like kind of more house music. And then that comes along and that's like our biggest song. And that's not the sound that we had.
Right. So it's like, what can we do pop-wise versus a house music-wise? Before I turn it back over to Scott, because I could just talk to you about music all day long, I need to know, just for me, what's your division of labor? How do you guys write together? How do you guys perform? What parts are yours? What parts are Jared's? Or does it vary from song to song?
It really varies. Things changed really from the pandemic on, unfortunately. Because he had moved back to Pennsylvania. Him and his wife had a baby. They're expecting their second baby. And it was kind of like, I'm going to live in Pennsylvania now, where we just couldn't get together anymore and sit in the same room. So we still occasionally do, but it's more like a Zoom thing. So, in a ways, it kind of lost some of the fun of like goofing
how
around,
it started, right?
Getting a sandwich and coming back and making music. So, it's kind of evolved a little bit, but it really depends. I mean, it can start with anything. Like I hear a song and I'm like, hey, Jared, check this song out. And he's like, okay, let me work on a beat. Or I can say like, hey, I got this vocalist wants to work with us. Let's, they sent us this vocal. Let's chop this up. And so it really is, each song is almost completely different of how it kind of comes about.
So it's not like working with Sandy Kane and creating a new theme song. It's actually working with professional. Last one before I turn it back over to Scott, of course. Tell us a little bit about Prince Street Bodega. How is it different from Black Caviar and what's going on there?
Yeah, so Prince Street Bodega started basically during the pandemic. I hooked up with this amazing vocalist named Ryan S. from Dublin, Ireland. And we did a couple Black Caviar songs together. We did 2 Black Caviar songs. And he's like, I want to, I have demos. I have so many demos. And I'm like, well, let me hear them. And he sends me these songs and they're just so incredible. I mean, just a vocal and like a real scratch track, music. And they're strong hooks and just so much, like even just the song, like what he's singing about is so deep of just, finding himself and going through, dealing with alcoholism and coming out on the other side and finding faith and like real deep songs. And there was literally an album's worth of stuff. And I was like, this is incredible. And I had moved to a new neighborhood here in New York City. And one of my friends from Nick from the Disco Fries, I was like, hey, do you know any producers around here or do you know any musicians? I'm just kind of looking to like just kind of collab with some other people. He's like, yeah, one of the guys that I represent actually lives, in your neighborhood. Well, it turns out this guy Domenico lives literally right across the street from me. And he's this incredible musician. He could play any instrument. I mean, he's just a real true musician. So I was like, hey man, I got these demos and stuff, and this is, things are still kind of locked down and we just started making demos and playing real instruments and actually playing the songs. And this is something I haven't done in so long. And these songs just started coming together. And then it's like soon we had an album. And so we're like, okay, so we're starting to release those songs now. And now we have demos for a whole other album that we're going to start working on. So
it's a little bit more R&B and less dance. What do you think?
It's more like funk, soul.
Got it.
Like Sly and the Family Stone meets
Little 70s influence maybe too.
Very 70s influenced, yeah. Real soulful, but then like, we'll do some like the last song we just put out, Higher With You. I mean, it sounds like it could be like a Outkast beat, so there's a 90s hip hop influence in there with, but leaning more towards organic instrumentation. Yeah.
Troy, you were talking about how different What's Up Danger is, the sound, like versus your guys' other music with Black Caviar. And I remember, I think it started on O&A where they started to play some of your music. And I remember Jim and Sam, and I just loved the sound so much. I downloaded everything that they would play on the show. I downloaded, it would make it to my workout playlist. And when I was a Blackhawks reporter, sports reporter in Chicago, I'd be a talking head on these TV shows, and I would start working in things from the show. And I remember one of the times they were asking like why Patrick Kane or some players playing so well. I go, he's got the Cocoa Puffs. And I said to say, like, I would work this stuff in, and those lines and those beats were so good. My question is, who were your guys' major influences to kind of impact your sound and the way you approach your music?
I'd probably say, just like from a production wise, it's like Pharrell, Timbaland, real rhythmic, kind of weird sounds, weird drums, big boomy drums. Definitely like the Beastie Boys, just kind of with like that hip hop vibe. But I would say like, yeah, like definitely like we would dissect Timbaland songs and just listen to, specifically what's happening and how like minimal the drums are, like sometimes it's literally nothing. And it's just like, man, how did he get these sounds so good? So I'd probably say like, if I had to narrow it down to like two producers, it'd be Pharrell and Timbaland for sure.
Troy was great. That was awesome. And we had so much fun with Troy that it's not just going to be one part. There is a part two because there was so much to cover with him and he was so great. But thank you everybody for listening and watching. And thank you, Chris.
Yeah, Scott, thank you. And thanks to Troy. He was so generous with his time that, like you said, there's a part two coming up. So everybody kind of look for part two of Troy Quan in the Town Square.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Jim and Sam Town Square. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell, not dog bell, so you don't miss an episode.
And if you're just listening to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it.